Have you ever looked at your website or your sales process and saw that you were getting attention, people seemed interested, but they still didn't convert? And that's not actually because the product or the market is bad, but because somewhere between discovering your business and taking the next step, people just disengage. 90% of the time, this is how it looks like. A prospect visits your website, they browse through every page very quickly, then they try to understand what you do. And even if they are curious, even if they trust their brand, something feels heavier than it should. So they just leave, or they say they will come back later, or they actually book on a call, and the conversation begins with the same explanation your team has already given dozens of times before. And that's what's really frustrating about this. Because the real problem usually isn't your product or your team, it's simply that the way your business is explained creates more friction than it should. In the next few minutes, I want to show how companies are solving that problem and turning complex services into clear, high-converting assets that move prospects forward in the funnel. And if you stay with me until the end, I also show you exactly how we build that system for our clients. Before we get into how the system works, let me show you what happens when companies fix this problem. One of our clients, Zoho, told us something very interesting. They said their prospects actually understood the product and trusted the company, but they still were not taking the next step. When we worked through the messaging together, their whole funnel became clear to their target audience. The early steps of their process felt small internally, but to their users, those steps felt more demanding than they expected. We reframed their messaging much more simpler and easier, and actually a lot of new leads took the next step. K0, another one of our clients, implemented the system across their funnel, and within about 6 to 7 weeks, they were able to convert several deals that had previously been stuck. That alone added roughly $170K US, and here's the part most companies miss. When someone finds your business for the first time, their brain is looking for 3 signs. What exactly does this company do? Why should I care? And what happens if I take the next step? If answering those questions requires too much effort, the brain naturally delays the decision. That is why people bounce from websites so quickly. That's why sales teams end up explaining the same thing over and over again. And that is also why companies sometimes invest heavily in new campaigns, redesigns, or paid traffic, but still feel like something in the funnel is slowing down. All in all, the issue in these cases is not always traffic, it's often just that the first layer of explanation is too heavy. The prospect has to work too hard just to understand the basics. And as you may know by now, when thinking becomes hard, people simply move on. So the real question is this: how do you turn a complex product or service into something prospects can understand and trust fully in seconds? That question is exactly why we built the done-for-you animated growth systems at Animatics. This is not like a typical video project, like I'm sure you have seen 100 times before. This is a structured explanation system designed to remove friction from the way your business communicates with prospects. So instead of leaving people to piece together your offer through long pages, static screenshots, and scattered information, the system creates a sequence of short, strategic visual assets that guide your audience through understanding your business step by step. At the center of the system is a 60-second homepage video that simplifies your entire offer into a clear story your audience can understand almost immediately. Then we build additional short videos, up to 45 seconds long, that are designed around specific friction points inside your funnel. For example, for some companies, the biggest issue is awareness. People simply do not stop long enough to understand what exactly that company does. For others, the challenge is explaining the product clearly. Sometimes the missing piece is trust, where prospects need proof before moving forward. And in many other cases, the friction appears after the sale when onboarding isn't shown clearly to the client. And basically, this is why our system is not a template of like 5 videos. These 5 videos are strategically customized to match the exact points where your prospects tend to slow down. And these together help your lead go from a website visitor to an actual buyer. So the first principle behind this system is what we called clarity before complexity. Most companies try to explain everything at once: the features, technical details, integrations, dashboards. But people do not need the full complexity at the beginning. First, they just need the core idea of your business, and once that becomes clear, they are much more willing to explore the details. That's why the 60-second hero video exists. Its job is to take your entire business and reduce it to a single clear story that your audience can grasp immediately. Instead of reading paragraphs or clicking through multiple pages, they get the big picture in 1 minute. The second principle is structured progression. Buyers move through stages in their buying journey. First, they become aware of a problem. Then they want to understand the solution. Then they look for a proof that the solution actually works. And only after that do they feel comfortable taking action. If your messaging jumps randomly between those stages, people get confused. That is why the Done-for-You animated growth system maps different videos to different points in the funnel. Each one of them removes a specific layer of friction and prepares the viewer for the next step. The third principle is visual clarity. When something is animated, every frame is intentional. Every word, every transition, and every piece of information can be designed to guide the viewer toward understanding. This works well for complex services and products. Instead of relying on static screenshots or long explanations, animation allows the message to be shown step by step in a way that feels simple and controlled. That's why so many high-growth companies use this approach to explain ideas that would otherwise feel overwhelming. Imagine someone landing on your website and understanding exactly what your company does in under a minute. Imagine your marketing campaigns driving traffic to pages where the message is instantly clear. Imagine your sales calls starting with prospects who already understood the fundamentals instead of needing a long introduction. And imagine your team spending less time explaining and more time closing deals and growing the business. Because this is the real purpose of this system, not another bunch of marketing assets or flashy decorations to buy your business, but a clearer path for your prospects to move from curiosity to paying money for your service. If you're running a growing company and you feel like your messaging could be clearer or easier for your prospects to understand, the next step is very simple. Book a discovery call with our team. On that call, we will walk through your current funnel, find out where friction might be slowing down decisions, and show you how the Done-for-You animated growth system can turn complex messaging into clear visual assets that help prospects understand and move forward faster. When you click the link below this video, you'll simply be able to choose a time that works for your schedule. On that call, we will take a look at your current messaging, your funnel, and where prospects might be slowing down or getting confused. Then we walk you through how the Done-for-You animated growth system can simplify your explanation and help prospects understand your offer much faster. So if turning your message into a clear, high-performing asset sounds valuable for your company, go ahead and book that call now. On that call, we'll discuss how the Done-for-You animated growth system can help your prospects understand your offer faster, build trust earlier in the process, and move forward with more confidence.